Welcome, Dr. Shashi Kiran, here today, and it's really a pleasure to see you like this. It's been a very long time that we haven't met, and I'm sure we'll do that again. But just to tell everyone, Dr. Shashi Kiran is working as a medical advisor at GSK Pharmaceuticals in the Pain and Metabolics Division. He has done his MBBS from Kasturba Medical College, Manipal University, and after that, he's done his MD Pharma from Father Muller Medical College. He has also done his MBA in marketing from Sikkim Manipal University. So, yeah, he's a very seasoned professional when it comes to his portfolio. So many variations he has done, and he is always ready to learn something new. So it's really, a pleasure to have you here today, Dr. Shashi. And we hope to have a very meaningful discussion that everybody can enjoy and something they can gain out of it at the end of the day. So I would,
Thank you, Ronak. I
yeah.
think it was a very kind introduction, and so I'm very overwhelmed to be a part of this live session here today in Instagram. Thank you
Right.
for inviting
So,
me.
yeah, it is actually a pleasure from Doctors in Corporate to actually have you here today. So, it is a great initiative that we have started recently where we will be talking and shedding more light upon the non-clinical aspects of medicine, which not everybody is aware of, and somehow we all need to know something about it at least so that it can be a good career choice for many of us. So, because we all have that herd mentality when we joined medicine, when we were in the MBBS days, nobody knew much about the non-clinical aspects of how the industry works and what are the career prospects going forward. So hence, Dr. Shashi Kiran will give you an overview talking about the career prospects as an MBBS or an MD Pharma in the corporate industry and how does exactly doctors fit in into the pharmaceutical world. As per my research, I've seen that you've worked as an assistant to the nephrologist at Apollo Hospitals for almost 2 years before you decided to take your MD Pharma as a post graduation. So, what made you think about taking MD Pharma as a post graduation, and what was the thought process that went behind that?
And thank you because while you did all this research, so it indeed took me back to the things which we were doing after MBBS, and let me say that I was not excluded from this, and I was also having this same kind of dilemma that what generally the people are facing today. So whether to take up a non-clinical branch or not, then how would it be? So will I be wearing a stethoscope anymore? In fact, I must tell you, while I was working in Apollo Hospitals, my boss, he himself told me that when I told him, sir, I want to take up MD pharmacology, and he said me like, think again, Shashikaran will not be wearing steth anymore. So, that kind of challenges and questions that you will face every day. So that was the turning point where I actually made my decision, and I wanted to take up this. So there are certainly a lot of good reasons why I actually chose to do MD in pharmacology. First and foremost thing is I was always kind of very much interested in the thing which is going to offer. Pharmacology is a very interesting and very intriguing subject. And I always had an affinity towards clinical medicine, which is doing an MD medicine. So, while I was practicing after MBBS in my internship, you know, so I had a very good chance of doing assisting nearly 30, 40 general surgeries and many other cases which we were posting. So after that, I went into nephrology. So there I nearly was looking into 40, 45 renal dialysis every day. On top of that, in the weekends, we used to conduct renal transplants. So in that 1.5 year, we nearly did a 15 renal transplant in that year. This was back in 2014 to 2015. So that's very interesting. So there, actually, what happened is that when I was assisting that part, we used to prescribe some of the very monoclonal antibodies and graft rejection agents and many other drugs. These are certain drugs which comes with gross side effects or gross adverse effects, which we call. So you write that thing to him. The next day he comes up with so many vomiting, and we never used to experience such kind of thing when we were doing internship, isn't it? So we had like basic drugs like CPM, paracetamol, and something to treat cold, cough, and fever. and something like that. But these are in nephrology, I was experienced to some kind of drugs which had a great adverse effects, and kind of thought about like what is it, because you naturally read pharmacology in the second year of MBBS. After
Right.
that, you try to see the applications of that drugs into the clinical medicine in your fourth year and fifth year and all those things. So apart from all these things, there are certain drugs that we were thinking, which is very much interesting. Okay, so why this is happening? So that kind of intriguing, and it is very much closer to medicine. That actually brought me thinking of doing something in MD pharmacology. But that is not the least. All about experiencing the risk and benefit of the drug
Mm.
while I was prescribing it. For example, it's maybe I could recall Myoset or Bioral and Trastuzumab and many other drugs. Docilizumab also for rejection and all those things. Very funny names, and very interesting to do. And also, while looking forward with, I was very interested to look forward with the pharma industry experience. Uh, I was kind of skewed towards the business excellence and how the pharma business is done and all those things. So in fact, that also motivated me to take up my MBA in the distance education. So while I was doing my MD in pharmacology from 2015 to 2018, I also started with my MBA in pharmacology. Wanted to get a sales and marketing, how the supply chain works. So what are the distributions? In the when the drug is being transferred from one country to another in country like India, how it is distributed, where it is marketed, so all those things. So international regulations, international marketing techniques, tactics, all those things. So of course, it's a billion-dollar drug development industry and strategies. So
Yeah.
lab to life is one main thing, which was impacted me to take up this very interesting.
And I'm sure it was an unconventional decision at that point of time, and I'm not
Of
sure
course.
how, yeah, how your friends and family might have also reacted to that. And still, because I do have many of the friends and even relatives asking basic questions like, so where is your clinic, and are you still a doctor? Are you really a doctor? And
No, the
all those
most
kind of
important
things.
question is what do you do? So
What do you do?
what do you do? So it's a very
Right,
simple question. It's a very difficult to answer.
right,
Sometimes when I was talking with my friends, I was like, basically, what do you do? And they're like, I don't know how to explain it to you. I'm seriously don't know. But
right.
but there are so many things that we do.
Hmm.
There is no
And
one single
I
answer.
think, right. And that is where we have thought of joining in today and maybe giving an overview to, to the people, and maybe that can help them know at least something about the non-clinical aspects of medicine. Great. So, Dr. Shashikiran, what do you think is the scope for doctors in the corporate world?
Very, very, very wide scope, Ronak, if I may say today. So pharmacology, post pharmacology, we have a wide applications of this. So there are multiple scopes in the industry. So basically, before we talk about the scope for a physician or a doctor in the pharmaceutical industry, let us try to understand about how the pharmaceutical industry is basically placed. You know,
Hmm.
so what is the basic structure of this industry?
Right.
So while we look into the basic structure of the industry, what I have understood till now is that there is something called as a research and development organization, and
Hmm.
there is something called as a commercial organization. Both
Right.
are very distinct in the functions what they do, and so these are the broad classification. Of course, there are some other kind of industries supporting accessory, all those things which come into the which play along well with such kind of organizations. When it comes to research and development organization, so there is basically what they are into is that about the drug discovery, the lead generation, lead optimization, identifying the drug. So there might be preclinical research which involves there will be preclinical research which involves into the early drug development, looking into the safety and tolerability of the drug, experimenting in the phase one and first in human clinical trials, what we call as phase zero,
Right. Hmm.
experiment looking into phase one and phase two, the drug dosing studies. So these are all some of the aspects which comes into the research and development part of the industry. And there are certain drugs which there are certain organizations which are exclusively doing only this part. So it
Right.
comes to the second kind of pharmaceutical industry will be like commercial organization. So what happens with a commercial organization basically is that so they are concerned more towards the medical and scientific affairs of the drug. So we work where I am actually kind of working is in a commercial organization in
Right.
the role which I'm there. So where we'll work towards there's something called as a market access, and there is this we work closely with the sales and marketing team. So the commercialization of the medicine and bringing that medicine into the prospect of using it into a patient. So
Mm-hmm.
getting that medicine to the hands of the patients and then seeing how the things are going, maintaining the product life cycle. So this is
Right.
one very nice term.
Mm-hmm.
So once the drug is in the market, then how does it progress over the course of time? So the maintaining the product mark cycles and assisting the launch part. You know? So the drug launches where I must be very much I must be, tell you that I'm privileged to be part of the launch programs also in my previous organization. So
Yes.
there are some pre-launches which will happen where there is logical, local and regional market access insights we'll try to gather
Mm-hmm.
how this drug might work in the future.
Right.
So these are few things which happens in the pre-launch, and also by designing and implementing the sales force. So
Mm-hmm.
commercial organizations basically have that how what kind of a sales force team do we need to have to market this drug.
Right.
So how does this happen going forward? So what is the 10-year projection of this drug? So what are the
Mm-hmm.
competitors for this drug? Existing competitors. What are the competitors which may come in for 5 years down the line while this drug is doing in the market?
Right.
This is a pre-launch kind of assessment, and the launch happens, and then there is a drug which is bought to the physicians or the writing the physician practitioners. So they will try. There the commercial organizations also try to assess the. They will try to what you can say the communicate the risk and benefit of this drug
Mm-hmm.
for the HCPs who are actually kind of practicing with this drug, and
Right.
also educating the HCPs on the safer use of this drug. So while we conduct our the CMEs, continued medical education and all those
Right.
things. So
Mm-hmm.
these are all the things which happens, and a physician putting it here will be a part of anything and everything, whatever it is, depending upon his attitude and depending upon his interest. He can place
Mm-hmm.
anywhere between these two things and try to go forward by learning on the job skills.
Right.
So those are all the few very important things. And further, what happens is that the accessory teams, what we have like marketing team, they kind of track the sales performance. They also track oversee the promotional activities
Right.
of this drug, and like I said, our research and development organization and the commercial organization are kind of symbiotes. So they
Mm-hmm.
derive their ideas from each other. So all those things are done. The post launch is done. The drug is there in the market, and fine. Then what happens is the medical and scientific affairs. So we'll try to get the insights generated. Generating insights for the newer indications of this drug, potential newer indications of this drug. Probably working towards the label extension of the drug. Line extension, generally what you call, and also extending the product life cycle in that way. So these are the things which circle back to insights will circle back to the R&D. R&D prime work on that, and then getting to the drug, and then these are all kind of symbiotes, I feel.
Right.
So
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much for explaining the drug life cycle so, simplify in a very simplified manner, which everybody can understand. So, Dr. Shashi, the next question is very obvious. How does a pharmaceutical physician fit into the pharmaceutical industry?
of course, so like we were discussing previously, so there is a lot of scope basically. So
Mm,
there is nothing like there is no scope. I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Of course, everyone will have such kind of a feeling when they try to take up the degree or when they move into something new, a career change, or getting into understanding
mm,
what can be done and what should be done in an
right.
industry. So let me give a basic overview of the five things. So we'll not
Mm,
talk about academics
mm,
today because as we are discussing, it's mainly into the corporate industry or
right.
pharmaceutical industry where the fiction fits in. So
Right.
the first and the foremost thing is about the scientific and the medical affairs. Where I presently I'm working in medical affairs, so I will be very much happy to tell you about the medical affairs part. Uh, while we talk about the scientific and the medical affairs, what basically is done here is we devise or implement the overall medical strategy, how the drug should be, how should it perform in this thing, to basically look into addressing the data gaps while we interact with the external HCPs or stakeholders, and to generate the meaningful evidence from while with our interaction. So what we call it as a real world insights while
Right.
we talk with the HCPs, so that will be a very key important point if you want to understand, if you take up or interested in medical affairs thing.
Mm-hmm.
Second, the another thing is that about early identification of potential future changes of this drug. Like I said, what are the competition? What can happen? How does the management of this disease change going over the course of time? Is there any drugs which are there in the pipeline which is going to impact? For example, you are a part of Ribelsis launch,
Right.
or a semaglutide. The thought process started in around 2004, 2005 or something, so
Right.
what can happen? You never expected anything great or changes would happen in managing a diabetes. Managing diabetes has been doing since last 100 years,
Right.
and with we do have a good drugs. So how things going to change? So if you are able to pick up that early insights about how things might change in the future, then you'll be kind of rewarded. So that part, and also conducting the educational symposiums to translate the novel clinical data what you have from your this thing into the practice, or the people who are actually kind of practicing. So those part will be these are a few very interesting things. Other than that, we also have that collaboration skills along with the medical and the marketing team. So basically, you are bridging the gap between the internal stakeholders and external stakeholders in medical affairs. You know,
Right.
so there
Like
are so many
connecting them.
internal stakeholders. Yeah, yeah, so many internal stakeholders. If I have to name, so there is, like I said, we have an R&D team. You have a health economics team, market access team, medical and sales and marketing team, a clinical trial operations team. So these are all some of the internal stakeholders in the industry.
Stakeholders. Right.
So you are basically extending your hands to both of them, and you are connecting the other hand towards external stakeholders, which are the physicians, the key
Physician.
opinion leaders, the healthcare practitioners, the academic institutions, also the regulatory bodies, the health
Mm.
technology assessment agencies, and so many things. So these are all some of the very gist of the medical and the scientific affairs part.
Right.
So the second most important thing, how a physician can fit into in the pharmaceutical industry would be pharmacovigilance. So we had a very nice discussion last week. I think Manthan, we discussed a lot about drug safety and also the adverse effect, analyzing and reporting, monitoring, interpreting safety reports, and many other things. So very
Yes.
interesting part there also. So there basically it is all revolves around the adverse events or signal detection, linking
Mm.
it into the basic characteristics. So why this happened in this kind of patient? So what were the age of this patient? Does it happen only in certain gender? Does it happen only when the patient is taking some kind of a co-medications, or when
Mm.
he has some kind of a comorbidities? So
Right.
what would we eat? So what is the question that we need to answer there? So everywhere you have your stakeholders to be managed. Like in medical affairs, we have that marketing and sales and marketing as a main and important stakeholders, and there is a pharmacovigilance part. So while I was discussing about, there are some important stakeholders with the pharmacovigilance also.
Mm-hmm.
There are study responsible physicians, the principal investigators, and the HCPs who are into health authorities,
Mm.
managing the day, statisticians and data scientists basically,
Right.
right? So these are the second most important place where he's gonna fit in the future.
Mm. Mm.
Next thing is when I say about the third important aspect, how it will be fit in is that about the research and development, which we were
Mm.
discussing in the earlier stages. So what basically research and development here, what they do is they identify the investigational new drug, so investigational new molecular entities. They'll try to optimize the lead generation what they have, maybe identifying the druggable targets. So these are the very important. I love Goodman and Gilman because such kind of words you can find only in such books. The
Right.
druggable targets, very interesting word.
Mm.
Experiencing in medicinal chemistry, in vivo testing, of this thing, safety and tolerability of the drug, dosing studies, which we were discussing, the first in human or phase one and phase two clinical trials. Uh, and also there, what I feel is that, because I've not really worked here, so probably the stakeholders in the research and development are the CRS. We have held in my previous organization, which we were working with the clinical team. So where there are clinical research associates and there are project managers who will be taking care of a trial. So there
Hmm.
are certain clinical pharmacologists, medical writers also comes into a part here. So that's one
Right.
of the biggest thing what the people will take up after MD in pharmacology.
Hmm.
There are project managers and database managers, the trial monitoring people, and the team. So these are some of the stakeholders. We will be actively interacting with them, with the internal stakeholders, and
True.
so these are the three important things. The last and the final thing, where we would also like to very much, it would be very fit the patient, or you can be a part of the pharmaceutical industry, will be regulatory medicine. So in the regulatory medicine, probably, so what basically the function of this regulatory medicine is basically production and submission of the application. So the new drug approvals into the health authorities. So documentation of the regulatory, supporting documents to the regulatory agencies to answer the queries in the subject expert committees. Market authorization,
Hmm.
to securing the market authorization, submit the market authorization application, and then secure the market authorization thing. So
Right.
we will also look into the changes in the label, what kind of changes should be done in the drug label.
Hmm.
So, while you climb up the ladder over there, you might also secure some opportunities in working in a European Medicines Agency or DCGI for that matter, FDA,
Right.
TGA,
Hmm.
all those things. So these are all the drug regulatory agencies and thing. And there are, of course, the miscellaneous parts, like, you'll be a major part in a medical writer. You can say another segment of the part where you'll assist in scientific writing, paper, medical writing, or
Hmm.
you'll be writing PSURs, so, periodic safety update reports, working with either of this clinical teams. So that would be there. Then there is something called writing a risk management plan, risk mitigation strategies about
Hmm.
the life cycle of the drug. So these are some of the very interesting things. Of course, for everything, wherever you go, and then there is a on the job training is very important.
Right.
So you will acquire new skills. You will not be left there. So you are going to acquire some new skills, and then
Hmm.
you're going to exhibit those skills, and you are going to make something, carve a better shape out of yourself. So that part. There are other places where, like, a physician can directly, with his experience, he can directly go into, if he's interested, he might even go into health economics for
Hmm.
part, where if he's interested, he can also explore the health economics part, how the patient access is done, and all those things. And also, finally, I must say, you can, depending upon the number of years you experience in either of these portfolios,
Hmm.
you can become an independent consultant to an industry.
Right.
So that those are some of the scopes. These are things. And also, I must forget, I must tell you about the product manager part. That, so I was working very
Right.
closely with the marketing team. So you can also try
Hmm.
to get into the commercial part, right? From the physician towards the
Hmm.
commercial part, by understanding the business. You can also go into
Hmm.
the commercial product managers, where you're most, because you have the core scientific knowledge about the drug, so you will be able to impact, appropriately translate the data into the promotional claims. you know
Right.
so a lot of the times, you must have heard billion-dollar fines and all those things. So because the data is not, the claim is not properly translated into the promotional
Hmm.
claim.
Right.
So a lot of cases
So
and all
who
those
better
things
to
you
do
might
it
be seeing.
than a doctor? Right.
Of course. So that those are the some of the really interesting parts. So there is a vast scope, I must tell you, Ronak. So
Hmm.
you, by the time you be here and you try to explore yourself, you might even think that I must also do that. I
Hmm.
must also do this. The more you
Right.
learn on the go, so it
Hmm.
is basically like telling about the things that you want to unlearn, and then learn different set of skills, and then
Right.
go do the job, perform. You're
Hmm.
able to do the job, and then go on towards next. So
Right.
that is what which is very keeps on moving.
Very nice. So perfectly elaborated and also nicely explained about how there are a variable number of things that can be done after your medicine degree, which definitely translate into a meaningful career going ahead. So
Hmm.
the next question arises: what is the mindset shift required while working in a corporate versus working in a hospital setting?
Okay. So, very interesting question to that. I think I wonder how people have really taken this kind topic, as a advice to career choosing and all those things. So there are certain skills that you should have previously while you are while you want to make up such a decision about the mindset shift. So
Hmm.
we all know as a clinician, we'll try to impact the life of a patient, isn't it?
Right.
So those are probably I may say that these are like short term impacting the life of a patient.
Hmm.
So I was very much interested in this part where my community medicine professor used to say, a physician is a person who treats one patient, whereas a community physician is a person who treats a community. You know,
True.
so he is impacting the life of the people at a larger community, larger space. So this is about the community medicine. So apply this community thing into the world. You are doing in much more larger scale. Wherever your drug goes,
Hmm.
wherever you are responsible for the drug, or probably your background in there, it is there responsible for the drug. So you are impacting the life of the millions of people.
Right.
Uh, we are setting similarities when I say between the clinical physician and the pharmaceutical physician. Both of us are doctors. We do have an immense scientific and clinical knowledge about how things are moving around us. So there is I will say that there is a commitment to the life of the patient, which we all be responsible for, and the collaborations with the academic experts. So while they collaborate with the other, like for example, a general physician is collaborating with the cardiologist to treat a patient.
Hmm.
So there
Hmm.
is a thing which is getting built up. A cardiologist might even look into the renal complications, and he might even put him into the nephrologist. So there is a team which is going to work around the patient. Right?
Right.
So like that, we also have a team which, like we do have a non-clinical team which works around us. The how like the to maintain the product life cycle. So we are here collaborating with the non healthcare professionals. So that part. So basic differences between working in a physician, working as a clinical physician versus working as a pharmaceutical patient is that I may say there are no direct patient touch basis, so we
Hmm.
don't have a direct patient contacts, and we must what we can say that we are doing the medical impact on the larger scale, like I said, whereas it's an immediate satisfaction for a clinical physician. More indirect way of approaching a disease or a therapy or a drug area, how it is going to perform. So these are the basic differences and similarities between pharmaceutical patients and this one. When it comes to the mindset about basically you have to understand what kind thing you are.
Hmm.
You need to know three important things: know why, know what, and know how.
Hmm.
Right? So
Right.
when you know what, which means that what are you knowing? It is your clinical and scientific knowledge. So you do have that knowledge part. So that is your best in that. Second thing is know how to do that things. So you need to develop a right set of skills to know why, to know how, and then while you have both the skills and the knowledge, you need to know why am I doing this, right? So that's
Right.
that's the thing which builds up your attitude. So these are all
Hmm.
these are called the holy triangle, which I would like to mention. So there is an attitude, there is a skill, and there is a knowledge. Skills and knowledge in collaboration with an attitude, which will give the complete triangle of the mindset which you're going to develop. So while you have the right skills and right attitude, you're developing the commitment towards this. While you have the right attitude and right knowledge, you're having a purpose of solving things,
Right.
right? While you have a skills and while you have a knowledge, you are learning the process about the thing which you're going to develop. So the holy triangle. So I would like to, I was reading it somewhere, it was very interesting, so I thought let me mention it over here. So that is how the basic mindset you're gonna develop here, is it?
Very nicely said. And I think this will be one of the highlights of the talk because everybody needs to develop such kind of skills and such kind of mindset, as you said, because not just in a career where, we are working in the non-clinical aspect, but definitely in life, each person has to develop this kind of a mindset to actually excel and become a better version of themselves. Great. So then the next question arises about the key skills. Like you mentioned about the mindset that we need to, actually have. So what are the kind of skills that one needs to develop to be better suited for the corporate industry?
Yeah. So when I say, I think we have discussed most of these things in our this thing.
Hmm.
When I see the basic skill set that you need to have while you are working as a physician in the pharmaceutical industry is about learning the best about the where you are strong at, which is the
Right.
scientific core. So
Right.
you are a physician, you know how to treat a patient, you know what the drug does to the body and all those things. So you need to understand the scientific knowledge and you are best at it. So kindly develop the strong scientific knowledge and the medical knowledge while you want to choose this as your career prospect. Try to understand the ability to meet the unmet scientific needs.
Hmm.
Ask questions. So why this is supposed to be done in the same way? Why not the another way? So asking
Hmm.
questions becomes a really very important skill because you are challenging certain things which you are doing there, and you are kind of questioning why it is supposed to be done only this way.
Right.
Right. So next thing is about to gather the real world insights. So once you ask questions, then you are getting a response from the other person. So try to think about whether it is the most important for me. How will this generated insight is going to impact going forward, right?
Right.
So that is a very important skill that you would like to take it, develop. Have the best of the collaborative practices,
Hmm.
so while you are there as an MD MBBS doctor or an MD pharmacologist, you might have not been exposed to work in the teams, so that
Right.
is kind of thing which lack in our educational system. So working along with the different set of people who have different kind of skills and knowledge and different kind of attitude. So these
Hmm.
are the thing which kind of builds around the teamwork. So know how to work with the people because not everyone are the same. So you need to understand each other's strengths and deficiencies, if I may say. So these are few things that you can develop. You have to learn about interpreting the complex clinical data. You know.
Hmm.
Try take some time out, attend some webinars and scientific sessions, and learn about the statistics. Learn about how different kinds of data analyzing techniques and skills and all those things. So you need to learn about those part. Don't forget about your soft skills. So very
Hmm.
important, verbal or written. So it will always help you while you are engaging with the whether internal stakeholders or external stakeholders.
Right.
So develop your soft skills and also like I said, teamwork tactics and but finally the most thing which keeps on run keeps you moving is about the willingness to learn, the willingness to explore yourself, you know so because I was kind of not very much in I must say very interested in learning about the why it has to be marketed only this way, you know
Hmm.
why those are the only stockists, why what happens, why does it distributed in this way, what is the channel of distribution, so why can't we rearrange things like that,
Right.
so these are the out of scope activities that you must be willing to learn over the job. On the job training will help you to develop these skills.
Hmm.
Wherever you go, you just enter there and then start discovering what can be done. When you are working in a corporate industry, because ultimately everything is business driven, of course. So profit driven is,
Right.
it is pharmaceutical industry, as they say, but I will not disagree with that. Of course, it has to be profit driven. So you travel on a ceiling with the people who take the tolls. So you need a better infrastructure, just like that. You need a better drug.
Right.
You travel there, they take the tolls. It is like that. So you need to generate the revenue. So
Hmm.
that closes the circle. So these are certain things I think I felt which is top of my mind, which can help the people to develop right key skills to work in the corporate industries. I think.
Very nicely summed up, Dr. Shashi. And we do have a question in the chat box, and
Yeah.
two of our friends are asking about how can one apply straight into into the industry after their medical school? Like what role that can they start from, and how exactly can they go about like before like even doing an MD Pharma? Is that possible, and how does that happen?
Yeah, you can always choose MD pharmacology, because MD pharmacology, the only thing what it does is it will enhance your clinic, scientific and the medical skills and the knowledge, right? So you will so it will also give you some of the very interesting scientific aspects where you will learn about the general pharmacology, systemic pharmacology, and also the rational use of using the drug. So the concept of essential drug, that part. So what happens? I mean, what we did in this last 3 years while I was doing MD pharmacology is that we learned about most of the clinical pharmacology data, and we try to analyze the journals, right? Because these are, like I said, interpreting the clinical data would be very important skill for a
Yes.
person working in the pharmaceutical industry. We critically analyze the journal, present in the journal clubs. We also have the some of the assignments in drafting the protocols, conducting the animal and human studies while you are doing your thesis. So that is your most important thing. So
Right.
you can either choose an animal study or choose a clinical study. You record how things are done. So over the time, you will learn a lot about these part when you're doing an MD pharmacology.
Right.
The advantages of doing the pharmacology while entering into the industries are these are the some of the few key skills. You will
Hmm.
also perform certain bioassay or experiments on animals or a toxicology profile. You learn more about it. You'll
Hmm.
also present your presentation skills. When
Hmm.
you present the seminars in your department, or when you present the oral papers in the conferences. So
Right.
you will develop those skills. The publication of writing a publication, reading a publication, writing your thesis, and
Hmm.
analyzing the review articles, journals. So these are all, and one more thing which I did when I mean in our thing, what in our medical MD, what we were doing is that we used to do prescription audits. You know,
Hmm.
so we used to go to the clinical department, analyze the prescriptions, what they have written, and see the rational use of these drugs.
Hmm.
Most of the times, very funny experience I have also seen. So there's a very funny incident which I also need to mention to you. There was I was sitting in the cardiology OPD, and a person has written Plavix, the drug Plavix, which is an anticoagulant. So patient has, while it gone through like 6, 7 refills of that prescription, the name Plavix has become Flavix, Flavix, which is an anti-malaria,
Right.
isn't it? So these are the things which it will really impact the patient's life. So such things are like we were able to pick up those things, and we were
Hmm.
able to tell themselves what is happening here.
Hmm.
So that if the person thinks that he is taking the right drug, doctor believes
Hmm.
that he is given the right drug, but it is
Right.
not going to help him. So these
Hmm.
are the very interesting things which we did in our prescription audits in MD in pharmacology. Yeah. So these are the advantages of doing an MD in pharmacology. Whereas when it comes to an MBBS graduate who wants to get into the industry, uh, he can, of course, because he is a legal doctor and he's having the license to practice. So where he's impacting the life of the patient. So it is not like you will not going to. Of course, you need to have that mindset about learning new things on the go. So when you have that thing, so you will be you will learn things on the go. Uh, because you have learned pharmacology in your second year of MBBS. You have seen that application in the final year of MBBS. You have also practiced in your internship about the basic things. So at a comprehensive level, you have an idea about everything. So
Right.
you can definitely get into it, and then only when you have that mindset to learn things on the go, then you will definitely able to make wonders even after MBBS also.
Definitely. And that is really a very hopeful thing also for a lot of people because MD pharmacology, yet again, you have to go through NEET and all those kind of things, but it polishes
Mhm.
you into something, where you'll actually become ready for the industry because those key skills are very much needed. So either you develop them on your own, on the go with the job, and then either you become polished in 4 years and actually, be ready for them when they actually come to you. So a great opportunity again for doctors who want to, take up MD pharmacology as a post graduation going forward. So that comes to the final question to Dr. Shashi. What is your final message, or your last words for the aspirants, young
Yeah.
people, young doctors who would want to take up MD pharmacology as post graduation? What would you want
Mhm.
to say to them?
Yeah. Why postgraduate in pharmacology? That is the very interesting thing because I'll tell you very interesting instance. When I was sitting in my pharmacology department and went into the library, the department library, and we were figuring out. So I saw this very old book which was printed in 70s or 80s or something by Dr. B.V. Gaitonde and Dr. Tela. So
Hmm.
this is the I mean these are considered as one of the masters of
Right.
pharmacology. I think Dr. Gaitonde was a director in Maharashtra government of medical education and also served as a head of the pharmacology division in Grant Medical College. So in front of the books he had written, pharmacologists will play a role of a will be teaching the consultant physicians and the society alike, you know, in order to improve the quality of the medical care in the community. Pharmacologists are thought to play the role of the consultant physicians and to the society alike. Very interesting thoughts. So it is not that you have not done less, and it is not that clinical medicine is the only way going forward after MBBS. If you have the right skills and mindset, you can always develop things, and that would be my message to the people who are desiring to take an MD or pursue MD in pharmacology, because you are no less than a clinical physician. You are, in fact, changing the life of the people or the patients at the larger scale compared to one patient at a time in a clinic. So there is a lot of opportunity out here, like we discussed, and we'll also going forward try to discuss about more opportunities in this segment in this field of drug corporate industry, what we call. So these are the things. I think everyone can take up this subject, and it's very interesting.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shashi, for actually enlightening all of us regarding, the various aspects that non-clinical has to offer to a doctor. And definitely there will be a few key highlights like the, mindset triangle that you mentioned. And you need to learn and always have those kind of a skill set, you can say that a mindset, and you need to develop those kind of things to actually excel in life and excel in your career as well. So
Mm.
again, a great opportunity for anybody who wants to definitely take up this as a career prospect. And this is just the beginning, Dr. Shashi. We will collaborate more, and we will try to shed more light on the subject and maybe try to have more specific discussions with other industry experts as well regarding how doctors can actually function in the corporate world. So thank you so much again for joining in and
Thank you,
inviting
Ronak, for
us.
inviting. Thank you, Ronak, for inviting me into this forum. And I think with the little knowledge what I have, so I was able to probably put my thing on the table. And we were able to convince some of the people that you do have a better prospects here. Because, if frankly, I am not bored. I must tell you, because it's a very interesting thing. You will never get bored here
Hmm.
as long as you have the interest to learn many things on the go. So pharmacology never bores you,
Right.
especially industry will never bore you because the kind of people that you're interacting day and day, day to day. So very interesting, and so these are the some of the things. So challenging subject, very interesting also.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Shashi. Thank you everyone for joining in. And later also, if you have any questions, do put them in the chat box, and Dr. Shashi will be more than happy to address them as well. And we've tried to address the basic overview and a few of the questions that did come up from LinkedIn as well through our page of Doctors in Corporate. And we hope that we all connect there as well. And to collectively we can build something meaningful. So thank you so
Yeah,
much, everyone.
I must
Stay
also
safe.
tell you, Ronak.
Yeah.
So for all the people who have joined in today, please follow the corporate in Doctors in Corporate page. And we have recently opened it, and it will be very impactful, very insightful sessions which is going to come going forward in that.
Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe. Take care.